All right, here we go live and back again here with
Hi,
the Juice
everybody.
Fresh Talk.
We're
Yes, here we
back.
are.
This is our first
Season
recording
2.
of the new year, right?
Yeah, 2024 just like kicking off. I am your co-host Cindy Banier here with also my lovely friends.
I am Chantel Rhodes. I'm happy to see all of you. Happy New Year.
I'm Sarah Wilson, and I can ditto the same. Happy New Year. We're happy to be back.
Yes, so it's been like there's been a lot of changes, and actually, our friends at Seed and Bean downtown went through some changes as well, job changes. I just hate mornings, and so we're like
Yeah,
trying this new format. We're gonna do it live. Oh my God! And do we have a special guest there, Chantel?
we do have a special guest. Say hi to Louie, everyone. We have another one too. And listen, my dogs aren't wet. They're not just hanging out wet in the house. They are drenched in coconut oil. Okay.
Oh,
Come on, little one.
and what is so special about putting coconut oil on
You
your
know,
fine
you
furry
know, black
friend?
folk. You know, black folk believe coconut oil is just like what ginger ale is for our stomachs and sickness, skin wise.
Everything.
So this is Nipsey and this is Louie. They're joining us today for today's show. Yeah,
I'm just like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
And they just got like a whole coconut
they are
bath,
drenched.
coconut oil
They are
bath.
drenched in coconut oil. I noticed one little dry skin flake, and I was like, So we had baths first, and then our coconut oil, and they absolutely love coconut oil. So
It's good for them to eat too. Do you feed it to them?
they love to eat it. They're like licking all the
Yeah.
coconut oil.
I bet you
So,
they smell delicious too.
yeah.
It's really good for them.
Nice. All right. Well, our cute little friends, we'll see what they have to add to the commentary today. And back in, okay, before we jump into like anything serious, you will notice that I'm repping Detroit Lions today. I couldn't find my Lions hat. Like I wore it recently and put somewhere else because today is the first time the Detroit Lions have been in the NFL playoffs in 30 years. I am a lifetime fan. I actually went to the playoff game 30 years ago when Barry Sanders was playing. And so I'm just so excited. I was like having a good laugh this morning because here's the other thing. And if you're not like NFL people, the team that we're playing, the LA Chargers, has our former like beloved quarterback, Matthew Stafford, right? And basically they swapped quarterbacks, right? And then they went and won a Super Bowl. And now we're like, it's our turn. Thank you very much. But we're playing our former beloved quarterback. And even Eminem put out a video saying, look, Stafford, you owe us this. Like, just let us have this one. So anyway, it's good fun. I'm looking forward to watching the game and seeing my beloved Lions have
shout
a
out
victory.
to Detroit. Shout out to Detroit. Detroit versus everybody.
That's
and
right.
Speaking of representing in t-shirts and in fashion, I am representing the first and the finest, my illustrious sorority, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Our Founders Day is tomorrow, January 15th. So shout out to Alpha Kappa Alpha. And we're not only celebrating our Founders Day this week, I believe yesterday, J13, was the Founders Day for the lovely ladies of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. So shout out to them as well.
Yes, there's been a lot of Founders Days this month.
Oh,
so happy Founders Day to all of the sororities and fraternities.
Absolutely.
And Cindy, I have to say, going back to the Detroit thing, first of all, as soon as I saw you, I'm like, she looks so cute. I love that baseball hat on her. But also, I'm from Toledo, Ohio. So we are neighbors to Detroit. And I spent a lot of time in Detroit growing up, although I am a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. And I've not watched the NFL games. I used to be a huge football fan, watched all the games, and I started boycotting some years back. But when I was just watching football with my dad, he was telling me which teams are good right now. And I was like, wait a second, did I come back to some kind of alternate universe? Because like all the teams that were terrible when I was watching football are now the good teams, and all the good teams are now terrible. So but congratulations, that's a big deal after 30 years. That's
right. And like the Cleveland Browns are also in the playoffs. Totally weird.
Right. That is wild. Yeah, that's wild.
All of it.
But here's what's really like, if you're a Steelers fan. So today the Steelers were supposed to start playing this afternoon, actually, in Buffalo, but there's a blizzard in Buffalo. Okay. 65-mile-per-hour winds. They're going to get between 1 and 2 feet this afternoon. So they actually postponed the game as for like a weather emergency until tomorrow evening. So that game is not happening. And by the way, they're paying volunteers $20 an hour to shovel the snow in Buffalo to get ready for the game, but they don't know when that can start. So probably like might be middle of the night. We don't know, like tomorrow, because I guess the stadium in Buffalo is 50 years old and there's only one way to get the snow out. So they basically need like everybody in the stadium to like shovel it to the middle and then out. But it's wild. Like if you see the stadium, it's just like totally this dome of snow, which
I like
makes me happy to be in Florida.
Version of
I
you.
do too.
I like this football version of
I
you.
do too.
This is different. This is refreshing. I don't think I've ever heard you expound on sports.
Oh, really? Oh my God. I'm like a big dork jock person.
I love it. I love
you
it.
are coaching, right? You are coaching what, basketball?
Yes, I've been, I was a boxing coach. I was a professional boxer, and I have been a basketball coach for almost 2 decades. And yeah, and actually, I'm like considering getting into refereeing and judging in boxing. Just had the Florida Boxing Hall of Fame annual inauguration. So we're like the inductees last weekend. And by the way, that's right here in Fort Myers, in case you guys didn't know, the Florida Boxing Hall of Fame, right here in Fort Myers. No. There was a documentary on the president of the Boxing Hall of Fame, Steve Canton, and his gym. I'm on the board of his gym, and I helped him to develop the youth programming that we serve over 100 youth in our area, helping them to find after-school activities, home, make sure they're getting nutritious meals and things like that. So help them develop that program. And then my husband's actually been helping to curate the museum for the Florida Boxing Hall of Fame. So pretty exciting and cool stuff. And I like the Florida Boxing Hall of Fame for a reason that is like very near and dear to all of us, I know, because it's telling the story of folks who usually don't get their stories told. It's largely Black and brown folks who are from humble beginnings, many of whom have done just absolutely amazing things in their life. They've been champions and they've struggled. Like if you ever met Pinklin Thomas, he is somebody who struggled with recovery, was a world champion, and like now is giving back to the community, but telling stories of these folks, because as we know in history, like the people who have the money to get their story preserved and told are the ones that we hear over and over again, while many of the rest of those stories are lost to time. So it's one of the reasons why I'm extremely proud to be part of that.
That's
awesome.
awesome.
You, Cindy. You're such an inspiration. And shout out to Chet too, because he is curating and preserving the stories of many of these people. So thank you, Cindy. I love this version of you though. Keep it up.
I should just do this. I do look super cute.
The baseball cap is adorable. You do. You are wearing that hat today. You are. I love it.
Good. All right. Maybe we should talk about something like serious. Instead of just like
we got Dr. King Day coming up tomorrow. So the city of Fort Myers, where we are. Cindy, are you going to be out and about tomorrow?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. So I'm going to be, because I started this past year a consulting firm to help candidates. So I have 12 candidates around Florida that I'm helping to run. So I'm basically like getting these candidates into all these places. So we're going to be in Fort Myers. We're going to be in Punta Gorda. We're going to be in Sarasota. And I'm kind of like, running between all the places.
Wow, that's a lot. That's a lot. And so I will be sitting out the festivities. Well, King festivities, Dr. King festivities have already started here. It's like a week, beyond a week, actually. So tonight will be, tonight there's two services. You say the word because I'm not doing that on
ecumenical.
I'm not messing that up on his
I've been messing it up all week.
So that starts at 3 p.m. today. So we'll be doing that shortly after. And then 7 p.m. tonight, 6 p.m. tonight, all of the clergy will be getting together at St. John First Missionary Baptist Church to do a gathering of sorts of ministers, of churches, similar to what we have when it comes to the faith group. What is it called?
Unite.
Life for Justice, but not quite.
Yeah. What's going on really is it's called the Greater Community Interdenominational Alliance, and Pastor Glover is the president of this coalition or alliance of clergy in Fort Myers. And what's happening is they're coming together to speak to issues and support underrepresented areas, and to be that support for political pressure and whatever else, whatever those communities need. And I don't want to speak out of turn and give too much that I don't know yet, but so far what I'm seeing from this organization or alliance is incredible. And I'm so excited that they're coming together, and especially that they're doing this installment service today, because Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day is tomorrow.
Absolutely.
And this is, for me, it's representative of the Southern Christian Leadership Coalition that Martin Luther King was a part of, and that really pushed the civil rights movement. So I think that today is very symbolic for them to be coming together and saying, hey, we're going to be a force for this community. We're going to create an alliance so that we are larger than just one congregation.
Absolutely.
Yeah, to speak for the community. So I'm really excited, and we're very supportive of that, and we will be present. Dr. Glover has been very supportive of us and different things that we've organized as well.
So the Dunbar Festival Committee, shout out to them.
Yeah.
They have been organizing so diligently all of these festivities. I did not get a chance to make it to Lee Pitts Live, so that is what kicked it off. Did you go to Lee Pitts, Cindy?
I'm not allowed to go to Lee Pitts, but we can leave that off the air. I know Sarah went though.
No, that's what we need to talk about. Aren't we the juice?
Squeeze that juice.
What? Wait, you can't. Okay.
Okay, will you squeeze the oranges off of?
I don't know. I feel like we
today.
need to squeeze it on the camera, because what is better to talk about than why Cindy can't go to Lee Pitts?
Okay. So it's basically just because there are some outstanding invoices from my campaign that
it's the situation.
Well, listen, I was very honest with Lee about it. I was like, look, I broke my leg. We had a hurricane. I just can't pay these. I know that I said I would. I thought we'd have enough funds. It wasn't in the cards. And I kind of said, look, I'm declaring bankruptcy myself. Things are not good for me. And I was like, this is what I could do. I said, either I can we can make a deal. I can refer folks. I can, I can roll it into my personal debt, and we can just say, great, and it's done. I said, but here's the thing: campaign debt for federal campaign candidates can be rolled over infinitely, and it's not a corporation. So basically, as long as I'm filing FEC reports on it, it just lives there. And so I was like, look, I want to make this right, but I just can't right now. And it's it's unfortunate, but this is the situation that folks get into sometimes. And that was, he just is not super excited about that. So
if you can't show up Lee Pitts Live, it's like if you show up, it's gonna be like, where's my money, Cindy? That kind of
well, let's just say there was text exchanged after I did show up last time. And
oh, okay. I appreciate your openness and your vulnerability. You ain't have to take it there, but that's what I love about you. You love giving us the juice.
Maybe there's a way to mend that, hopefully. I hope.
Oh, it is. It's just I'm sure it is. It's just there's nothing to be done about it right now. I'm not mad. I don't have any ill feelings about Lee. I love what he does for the community. I appreciate the way that he lifts folks' voices. So I'm not trying to trash him in any way, shape, or form. I mean, this is just the reality of it. And so many folks, I think, and I have decided personally to talk about some of my financial struggles because I think that they're very relevant to folks. And we hide that a lot. In our area, the homeless numbers have skyrocketed, and they've actually made services harder to get for folks in this region, knowing that our housing market is untenable, right? We have one of the most overpriced housing markets in the country. Our rents are super high, right? So just housing insecurity overall, let alone food and all that other kind of stuff. And here's something that I'm sure folks really haven't even looked into, but because I'm in such financial difficulty, Lee County just changed the way that they are administering it's the LEAP program, which is a subsidy that is provided from the federal government that is then filtered down through the state of Florida and then to the county to help people with their utility bills, right? Used to be that if you qualified for food stamps, which by the way, I am on food stamps, and yes, I'm a professor and I have my own business, but that still is not bringing enough income in. Let's just talk about the higher ed tax another day. But that is the case. So if you qualify for food stamps, then you will qualify for quarterly support on your utility bills. Okay. They just changed this just this month that now that unless you are somebody who is disabled or a veteran, I think those are there's like only 2 qualifications, you're not even getting your application reviewed by Lee County.
What? And
Yeah.
so this is on our county commissioners, right?
Yes, it's 100%. It's the county commission has decided this. And it goes back to the disinvestment that we've had in our local governments, right? We have all these fiscal conservative folks and things that I call fiscal conservative bullshit, which has basically just been systematically defunding all of these public structures while the Republicans pat themselves on the back about it. So what this manifests in is they don't actually hire enough staff. So this program, which is coming from federal funding, okay, it should be enough to cover everybody in Lee County that's struggling. Okay. But Lee County doesn't want to hire enough people to process those. So what they said is that, okay, we're only going to open the online application for this amount of time on these amount of days. And we're going to process 20 applications a day. So basically, if you do not get up at 7 a.m. and submit your application, you are not getting in. Okay. That's the way it is. So if you don't, so it's as soon as it opens, you have to put your applications in. And then once it gets to 20, they shut the whole thing off, because their office can only process 20 applications. Never mind that there's thousands and thousands of people who otherwise qualify for this federal assistance. Okay.
So
Lee County has decided, I was going to say, Lee County has taken it upon themselves that this is how they're going to administer it. And it's a shame.
So let's tell people, because I know a lot of times we talk about what's going on, but let's tell people a little something that they can do. And this is difficult. And I think that this may be strategic on the part of the county. But what people can do is attend the county commission meetings. You can attend those. They are open to the public. I strongly encourage that people do to speak their mind. There are times designated for public input so that people can put pressure on their commissioners to do the right thing or to change things that need to be changed. So you can attend a county commission meeting. They are the first Tuesday and the third Tuesday of every month at 9:30 a.m. That's the difficult part, because a lot of people are working 9 to 5s midweek. So I know that that's difficult. And maybe that's even something that we put pressure to change, because I think that that's very difficult for a lot of people to attend. But that's
you can also write, call, email folks.
Yeah, definitely. But I do think that there's a different sort of pressure when you're there in person, holding them to account and saying to their faces, this is what we need to see done. This is what you are failing at. This is what we're unhappy with. Power in numbers, and people showing up in those meetings in large amounts or in large numbers, I definitely think can show that where their support lies and where it doesn't,
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I hate to be pessimistic about it, but I don't think they care. Like, they know exactly what they're doing.
That's
like,
probably true. But for me, and maybe other people feel this way, for me, if there's injustice happening or there are things going the way that they shouldn't be going, I at least need to feel like I'm doing something to show up, to speak my piece, because otherwise we do fall into that hopelessness. And we've talked about this on the show before.
And I think, that hopelessness is the perfect segue into the abortion ban that you wanted to us to cover. Because I know I felt like that recently. And I think that's when I wanted to take a step back, because it does get to a point where it's like, we've marched, we've rallied, they know how we feel, they know we exist. They, like you saying, Cindy, it gets to a point where they don't care. Once certain laws have been passed, there is this element of fight back and resist, and we're not going anywhere. But then it gets to a point where it's like, what can we really do?
Run. You know the answer to that. Run for office.
Oh, I thought you meant run, like up out of
run
here.
Away.
Up out of
you
this
can also run away. Like,
this.
I'm not going to be mad at people. Plenty of people have run away. Like, actually, I know lots of people, our neighbors, friends, people who've left. They've left for bluer parts of Florida. They've left the state. Like, it's been really hard for folks, LGBT folks, trans folks. Like, they felt very attacked.
A lot of LGBTQ folks said that they were leaving the state of Florida. And I think if you got the privilege and the access and the means to be able to do so, then by all means. But
see, to me, I feel differently about that, because I'm like, that's disappointing to me, because you do have the privilege to leave. many people, many of the most vulnerable people that need those voices, that need that coalition, they don't have it now. So for me, I'm sticking it out to the bitter end. I love this state. I love Fort Myers. I'm not going anywhere because the people that can't, you're just leaving them behind to drown.
Yeah.
And
I know. I legally can't. I can't leave the state of Florida. I can't move within 50 miles.
yeah.
If you could though, would you leave? Or
Oh
would
shit,
you
I'm going to
stay?
Bali, like if I can. I already looked it up.
You trying to move to Bali?
I'm gonna go to Bali. I'm gonna surf. I'm gonna like go to the yoga and the rice patties in the
I've been
mountains.
considering moving abroad again. That's been on my list of things that I could possibly do. But yeah, for now, I'm sticking it out. I'm staying here. Every time I start talking about moving, Sarah gives me this look in this lecture, and I just end up just sitting tight.
I was like, let me just also throw out, like, Indonesia does not have an extradition treaty with the United States. So, like, in case that becomes important in your life.
I love that. That's true. We could escape.
There you go.
Anyway, let's talk about that abortion ban. Though I know
Okay.
that's one of the things that you wanted to bring up. First of all, tell us what is going on, and then we'll juice out some fresh talk.
Well, and what you were saying, what can we do? What can be done? Shit's been done. Let's talk about what's been done.
Yeah, let's talk about that too. Okay, so where we are right now. Okay, so the Florida State Legislative session just opened this week, right? You know, we have an early year. It's 2024. It's a presidential year. So during a presidential election year, they move the session earlier so that the candidates can get out in whatever campaign. Okay, so our session will be done by March. Everything's been happening. So all of the bills that are going to be filed this session were filed last week. That includes a bill that is a complete abortion ban. No exceptions for rape, no exceptions for incest. The only exception is in the life of the mother, to which 2 doctors have to attest to. So that's not if other circumstances are going on. It doesn't matter if you're going to lose your infertility. It's no abortions, and there will be criminal penalties for those involved. So this is, of course, the escalation that the folks in the reproductive health sector have been warning about, because as a few sessions ago, we started with the 15-week abortion ban. Then we had the overturn of Roe. And then last session, we had the 6-week abortion ban. But as Sarah said, there has been organizing around this. Several organizations, including Florida Voices for Women and the Floridians Protecting Freedom, many other organizations, groups, Florida Now, Women's March, Democratic Women's Club, have come together. They did petitions around the state, and there was enough petitions to get abortion access on the ballot for 2024. It is currently being reviewed by the Florida Supreme Court. I think the language is set to be reviewed in a public session on February 7th. And if that is cleared through the Supreme Court, although there's been evidence that Ashley Moody, the Attorney General, is going to try to fight it, but assuming that meets those legal hurdles on the ballot for 2024, there will be a referendum around the state for people to be able to vote on whether or not they believe Floridians should have the access to abortion. Additionally, there are Supreme Court rulings coming from the Florida Supreme Court on the challenge to the 15-week abortion ban, which there is currently an injunction. So that is expected next Thursday, I believe, is when the judgment on the 15-week abortion ban is expected to come down. It is expected to be upheld in the state of Florida. And within 30 days, the 6-week abortion ban that was passed in the 2023 legislative session will go into session. So we're looking at, within the next 2 months, month and a half, a 6-week abortion ban to be completely in effect in the state of Florida. And the total abortion ban going through the state legislature and the ballot initiative to be in process. So that's the kind of where we are at the moment.
Yeah, and I want to throw in one other organization name because they really kicked things off, was the Women's Voices of Southwest Florida. I hope I'm saying that right, but Women's Voices. I know they played a huge role in getting this going. And this is a great example of what can be done when people come together, even when our legislators and our elected officials are not doing the right thing or what the majority want. We can come together for these ballot initiatives. So even on other issues, maybe not necessarily even abortion, there are other things that this could work for. So
Yes.
I want people to keep that in the forefront of their mind when they are feeling hopeless. Really what needs to be done is a rallying of the people, a rallying of the masses around these issues so that we can truly go into action and do the work ourselves if we need to. And that's what's been done. And I'm really, really proud of the state for coming together of all of these organizations and all these individuals who have signed petitions.
And Cindy, you got your work cut out for you when it comes to getting these candidates ready. I hope that they are, well, I'm sure they're ready to undertake such a great task.
Yeah.
But yeah, you ready to talk about some of your candidates?
Yeah.
And we can. Oh yeah, no, everybody's filed and ready to go. I mean, I am running all pro-choice candidates, by the way, and I do have a pro-choice pack, 2 pro-choice packs that are coming out here in 2024. Hopefully, we'll be able to fund some of those candidates as well. But yeah, so we have candidates that we're supporting here through Southwest Strategies. That's my political consulting firm that I started. We specialize in Democrats, grassroots Democrats, mostly in red areas, because we are the ones that can't afford like the big fancy consultants from outside, and we allow them to have a pathway to getting on the ballot. So we have Howard Sapp, who's running for House District 78 against Jenna Persons, who is one of the co-sponsors of the 6-week abortion ban. We have Chris Proya, who is running for Senate 33 against Jonathan Martin. He sponsored a bunch of other dumb shit, including the most recent vote by mail elimination, which we can talk about in a moment as well. We also have Philip Carter, who's running for Senate 27. That moves up. That's North Fort Myers up through Central Florida. And he's running against Ben Albrighton, who's the potentially the incoming Senate president. We also have Mitch Schlatter, if you remember him from 2020, is rerunning as well. We got him a team. He's running in the District 80. That's Bonita Springs. He's actually a Gen Z-er.
Cool. He's cool. And
yeah.
I like him.
Yeah, he is. And it was because we were able to convince him, like, look, we're going to be here for you. We're going to, now we're not going to be left high and dry. And he was able to say, yeah, like, then I'll put myself back out there, which I think he's also an introvert, which is like, if we can convince an introvert to run for office, like, I feel very accomplished.
Right. Talk about the plate.
Yeah. We also have Cornelius Fowler, who's a wonderful union and family man from the Lehigh Acres area. He's running for 77. Sorry, I get these numbers all mixed up. He's over there. And he's actually like a fountain of knowledge on labor stuff as well, like, because he's been a long time union rep and lobbying in Tallahassee. So he's really out for the working folks as well. We have Denise McCleary, who is running for State House 77. That's Cape Coral. She's a vet, a 34-year vet and an auditor. So she's really on top of financing, and she wants to get up to Tallahassee and make sure they're all putting the money where the people think the money's going. Those are just some of the folks. We also have some other down ballot. We're helping folks across the state. Naomi Blummer, who's running for mayor of North Miami, helping her out. Christina Levo, who's also running for House District 107. So yeah, lots of folks. And like, I've been telling anybody, like, you want to run anywhere in the state, like, I'm here for you. Like, whatever you want, whatever you do. I do not want folks to be walking into any election anywhere in the state without without a chance. Like, that's not what the people deserve.
Absolutely. I can't wait to run again. And hopefully they get this vote by mail situation straightened out. I know you got some info for us there too.
Well, real quick on that, voting rights in general keep just slipping away. And that's something that I think we need to work locally here in Fort Myers to get the word out about voting rights and what's happening, especially with this new bill being proposed. So tell us about the new bill, though.
So the new bill is, again, being proposed by Jonathan Martin. And Jonathan Martin, by the way, is somebody who was not elected. He was put up for Senate 33 the last day of qualifying, thought it was going to be Ray Rodriguez. Ray Rodriguez got a nod from Governor DeSantis and appointed to the Board of Governors because he rolled over on Ron DeSantis's congressional maps that, gerrymandered out the black districts. So Ray Rodriguez said yes, sir, and he got a really sweet job, left his job in the Senate. Jonathan Martin came in on the last day, faced no opponent, no primary opponent, no Democrat was running for that seat, which was actually an accident with the redistricting, but he walked into a Senate seat without being elected. So this guy is the one who is trying to mess with the ballots. So he put forth an initiative saying that we would cancel all the ballots, the vote by mail that has been put forth thus far, and people could re-enroll for vote by mail only if they qualified for a specific set of reasons. So it was going back to the days of like purely absentee ballots, where if you were military overseas, you were in the hospital, or you were incarcerated but not convicted, those are the only reasons that you could get a vote by mail ballot, essentially.
Let's talk about, because this is just mind-boggling to me when I think about all of this that's going on with voting rights and the history of voting rights in the United States, period. We are the only developed nation that discourages voting in this way. Like, all of the other developed nations, democratic nations, encourage voting to the point where they have it as a holiday, where you are automatically registered, where you register once and you're registered for life. Like even the SB 90, which is something we dealt with last go round, is where it's like every election cycle you have to renew your vote by mail, which unless like for us, like we're all like submersed in this, like we know of all of these updates. Most of these folks out here getting ready to vote don't know about SB 90. Absolutely. They don't know they have to do this.
And then when they're faced with all these challenges, they're like, all right, screw it then. You know what?
Exactly.
Which is exactly,
and that's the point.
They want. Exactly. Yeah, this is exactly what they want.
Yeah.
And so it's like, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Do we challenge people to change themselves and to push through and to seek knowledge and to fight and to make sure you're on top of this, that, and the third? Or do we challenge systems that put barriers in place that keep people from reaching their full potential, even when it comes to stuff like voting? And I think we have people that try to push that legislative piece. Then we have people who try to push that personal responsibility piece, because why are you not interested?
Mm-hmm.
Why are you not up to date on what's going on? But then again, that's why we have stuff like the Juice, so that we can come together and be informed and know what next steps.
And I think both are necessary. Like,
yeah,
your question is which one? Both are necessary. We have to push people to stay informed, to get engaged, to take that personal responsibility. But we also have to push those systems to change as well, because the truth is I think a lot of people are exhausted. They're exhausted of jumping through these hoops. That's why there's apathy.
We've been marching. We've been standing and marching.
Wasn't there a Voting Rights Act? Wasn't there a whole Voting Rights Act?
Absolutely. And
that the Supreme Court gutted? Yeah, there was.
And our leaders get tired too. Our leaders get weary and well-doing. But nevertheless, I appreciate, in the spirit of Dr. King and what this weekend means for all of us, go forward in the spirit of courage, love, rest when you need to, because I'm coming out of a season of rest myself. That's why I'm starting to talk about running for office again. And stuff like that. But it's essential, because the burnout is real, especially when you are trying to tell people. And Cindy, you've talked to me about this. Cindy has been so frustrated with me, just saying, what, I can't think about the Russians. It's too much, I can't think about, like, I got stuff right in front of me, Cindy. And Cindy's like, you need to care about what they're doing. And I'm like, Cindy, it's not that I don't care. So, but nevertheless, like, it is frustrating when you are trying to get people to see reasons to care and to, this is, you can make this difference. You can make this change. And they're just like,
That's what I keep hearing. They're probably thinking, this is what I keep hearing, and nothing's changing, or it does, and backslide, and here we are again. That's understandable. And I want to point out that the Russians have made their appearance in season 2 of The Juice.
Right.
Episode.
Yeah, they have.
We're not going to have a season 3 of the Russians. It's not happening.
Yeah, no, I'm almost to the point where, like, anytime somebody says something to me that, like, I know has been part of, like, this propaganda, be like, I'm so sorry the Russians got to you.
Yeah, I mean, it is true. It is true. But
they definitely got to me last year in 2023. But 24, I'm coming out. I'm coming out of that bondage.
Oh, listen, let's be fair. Like they're everywhere and they're here. Like that's the thing that freaks me out. Mike Flynn is in Sarasota. Mike Flynn is in charge of the Sarasota GOP. Mike Flynn is actively, by the way, if you follow his social, if you follow what he does on podcasts, he's telling folks to prepare for civil war. He's arming up these folks, getting them mentally prepared for when Trump says that he lost, that he won the election and there was election fraud. And so we're going to see a January 6th 2.0. I mean, this is like this, and they're not hiding it. So I'm like, you can go look, go right ahead. Like I invite everybody to have a look because it's kind of freaky. Like the things that are that he's saying, and it's right in our backyard, right? Also things like we just had, and if anybody followed this, except for me, I feel like I'm literally the only one who cared anymore, but Christopher Bear Spray Worrell, one of the January 6th folks, he was one of the Proud Boys, the Hurricane Coast Proud Boys, who met with Roger Stone on January 3rd. This is all documented. The FBI knows. There are photos. Roger Stone came, coordinated with the Proud Boys in Naples. That same group of folks were the ones, they were the front line going into the Capitol. Daniel Milkshake Scott was the very first person to breach the line after he beat the shit out of a bunch of cops and people came in behind him. This was the plan, right? And this is why they're in jail. Milkshake is in jail for 5 years. Worrell just got sentenced to 10 years after, by the way, he skipped out of his sentencing. He was sent home on home arrest because he said, oh, I got leukemia, X, Y, and Z. And they gave him an ankle monitor.
Hold on, was Milkshake the one that was arguing with you and I that day? He's in jail for 5 years, in prison for 5 years?
He was the first one, Chantal.
Oh my
that's
God.
The second time.
I got to know. So you need to tell me I argued firsthand with a January 6er? Like
yes, we probably all have. We probably
yes,
all have.
He crossed that police line to talk to us. He crossed that police line, Chantal. Remember? Because you and I were like, oh, fuck this guy, because he came around. So, which Chantal and I in 2020, in October 2020, during the election, we were invited to speak at this Christian, it was like a Christian bus tour.
It's called Good Faith, Common Good, or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And it was like folk singers and poetry people.
Oh, it was beautiful.
It was great, okay? But the Proud Boys told everybody that we were Antifa. And they showed up on Marco Island to protest us. There were hundreds of them.
They didn't know how to feel about us though, because me and Mama showed up, and then Mama started singing the national anthem, and then they like, well, okay, let's. I heard one of them say, "Hats off, boys." And I was like, okay, so we a little unity. So they wasn't expecting our black asses to get up there all patriotic and stuff. So we hit them with a plot twist. So it was beautiful. It was perfect.
It was tense because so listen. So Marco Island police had like a police line with cars and that were separating these Christian folk singer people and Chantal and her mom, me, okay. And they're all behind this line, right? And so, and I get up, I'm an asshole. I came later in the day. It was raining. I'm shouting at them.
You tore it up. Your speech brought the thing down. Cindy was on fire. That's when I said, I believe in you, Cindy. Yeah. That was the first time I was like, yo, I believe in you. You brought it down with your speech. And what could they say? What could they say?
I think I started with like, I'm not afraid of racists. And they were all like, boo. And they're like honking their horns. It's pouring rain. Okay. I'm like, I'm not afraid of white supremacists, and they were pissed. So anyway, so Milkshake, after this all came down and I just shout, whatever. So Chantal and I were at the tent, because I had a table there, Chantal and some other candidates, other folks were there. Milkshake broke through that police line and came over and talked to us. And we were because we were talking to that wonderful poet.
Yes.
Remember her?
Her name is G something, but she was.
Yeah, I follow her on Instagram.
She was powerful. I do as well. Nipsey.
He's talking. He's mad about it too.
Yeah, he's upset. Okay.
Yeah, Nipsey, you should be mad about them problems. You got to get them next time, Nipsey.
But nevertheless, the conversation was civil.
It was.
And but he tried to convince us that the Proud Boys were not a symbol of racism. It was just, pride. It was a good conversation though. For the first time, that was my first time having that sort of conversation with such a intense, just such a crowd that it was intimidating. I called Cindy. I was like, do we got the bodyguards ready? Look, I ain't used to this.
Yeah, we had my bodyguard there.
I was 30 pounds lighter at the time, so I ain't, I couldn't really hold my own back then, but yeah, I didn't know Milkshake was involved. I want to send him a letter in prison. Then ask him, does he remember me?
So he came with the whole like, we're Western chauvinists and we're just a drinking club. And look at our website. Somebody's got like a Hispanic girlfriend. We're not racist.
Right.
He did not hit you with the.
And it was like a black person is with them somewhere too. And he's like, look at us. We're all brothers.
Look at this one black person.
Yeah.
Okay. So that guy's in prison 5 years for being the first guy to break through the line on January 6th. Okay. His buddy, who was also there that day, Christopher Worrell, was the bear spray guy. He was the one in the January 6th videos, bear spraying the officers, which they all planned. They had all that shit planned, and they planned it on January 3rd with Roger Stone before they got on the buses at Alfie Oak's place and rode out there. So anyway, he came back to Naples after the song and dance. He was in federal custody. Boo-hoo. It sucks to be in prison. And then they're like, oh, he's got leukemia. And so he came to get treatment. Okay. He was found guilty. He was then waiting for sentencing. And just before sentencing, 4 days before sentencing, he went to a Walmart parking lot and he cut off his ankle monitor. If there's nothing more Florida than that, I don't know what it is.
Oh my God. That's
and then he skipped town for 6 weeks. 6 weeks he was missing. FBI was looking for him, all this kind of stuff, right? Just before sentencing. And then he went back to his girlfriend's house and they caught him and he faked an overdose. This is for real. He faked an overdose and then he was in protective custody by Collier County Sheriffs for 5 days, okay? Pretending he had overdosed when he broke into his girlfriend's house. Yeah. And so they were actually going to there might be additional charges that he faces, basically fining him for the 24-hour care that the Collier County Sheriffs had to give him when he faked an overdose, because it was later found out that it was totally fake. So anyway, so all that shit happened. He was finally apprehended. And just before the new year, just a couple of weeks ago, it was a week ago, he was finally sentenced 10 years in federal penitentiary for his part in January 6th.
Wow.
So these folks are in our backyard.
Well, anyway. Let's talk about it. Chantel, didn't you send me the video of the woman crying about her 5-year prison sentence?
Yeah, she was hurt. And she was talking about how no, Cindy, because
I'm crying these
no, because people make mistakes, and she was like, she felt bamboozled, she felt run amok, she
was not going to deny that the election was not fraudulent, though.
But she was saying that,
I'm so sorry for her.
No, they were saying that they believed it. She was like, look at how crazy I was that day. Look at this. And it's almost like they were drugged or brainwashed.
As a future criminal defense attorney and civil rights attorney, I'm going to call BS on that. Her attorney told her to say that. Her attorney most definitely told her to say that. And not only that, but I couldn't, okay, I wasn't going to bring this up today, but I'm going to. And it's not really a funny thing, but just on December 1st, a man was shot through his window by FMPD, Chris Jordan. Mm-hmm. And we're going to be talking more about that within the community in the week to come. And so I won't go into great detail on that, but it's amazing to me. And I said under my breath to Chantel when we were talking about this, absconding the police and cutting off an ankle monitor and then having somebody the police rush in the house only for him to fake an overdose.
And be able to have a story.
That's mighty white of them, isn't it?
Or you're still alive to even tell the story.
And I'm sitting here under my breath. What did I say? I said, white boys can do anything.
White boys can do anything, yeah.
And because it's amazing to me that you have police go out for a mental health crisis and somebody can't make it out alive. And these people broke into the whole Capitol, made it out alive, and now want to get on TV and cry about a 5-year prison sentence.
And not just and let's be fair, not just broke into the Capitol, not just this is not the tourist thing. This is on film, beating the shit out of cops,
beating
spraying them with bear spray. Like, this is not like, and that this is like physical violence. This is like, and it's just so funny because it's like, oh, the respect the authority people are like defending these like people who beat up cops. It's mind-boggling.
It's respect my own power. That's all they care about.
It's law and order. When I try to get out and protest for against police brutality, it's law and order. We want to make sure you don't do this, that, and the third. But these are good people. These are everyday citizens who just, got a little bit riled up. They got a little bit worked up that day, and they're passionate about democracy and the country.
Yeah.
All of this stuff. So
yeah. Well, that motherfucker, by the way.
Tell us how you really feel about that, Cindy.
Yeah. Oh, no, I've been on this because I've been mad about this for a long time. So when he went to Naples, he was supposed to be on house arrest. What do you think house arrest means? Stay your ass home, right?
Yep.
Right. That's what that means. No, he went to the Collier County County Commission. Okay. He was in front of the county commission, boo-hooing about how terrible it was in prison and blah, 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 and how bad and how mean they were to him and blah, blah, blah. And I firmly believe that one of the reasons that Collier County passed what was called the Sanctuary City Bill, it was because of his testimony and in an attempt to keep him from being remanded to the FBI. Because in case you weren't up on that shit, basically Collier County seceded from the union. They said, we no longer have to comply with any federal agencies, including FBI and all this other kind of stuff. That passed in August in Collier County. Okay.
Pass there, but take that shit to the Supreme Court. They can't just.
Oh, I know, but it doesn't matter. What I'm saying is we got Proud Boy advocating county commission passing something that would protect him. So like, that's why it's like, no. The Constitution and all that, they don't give a shit about that. They're absolutely undermining the country, the democracy, and the rule of law to meet their own personal needs too.
Right.
Oh, look at my Republican friends texting me now about election integrity. Sorry, my America First friends, we in a group text together. Anyway, what was you saying?
I just real quick, I
was like, how's that election integrity going?
I mean, we're still in the battle. This lady called me from the New York Times, the Washington Post that time?
New York Times.
The New York Times called me, and yeah, we're still with it, Cindy. So don't you dare give up on us.
Yeah, well, tell them go right the fuck ahead and cancel vote by mail in the state of Florida and see how that works out.
Yeah, well,
go right ahead, because by the way, guess who files the most votes by mail? Republicans. It's been historically for every year but the last election. So go right ahead. Go right ahead.
Because it's all older people and
it's all snowbirds.
Yeah. And I want to say this to just kind of go back on what I was saying before. I do not wish our prison system on anyone.
Oh, no.
I'm all about prison reform. So I don't wish that on anyone. I know how inhumane it is. I know how dangerous it can be. So I don't wish that on anyone, nor do I wish that anyone would get any kind of police brutality or violence against them from the police. However, just want to point out how differently things play out depending on the color of your skin. For all those that still doubt that that's happening, especially because we are in the middle of Legacy Weekend, Martin Luther King Legacy Weekend, I think we need to recognize how much that has played a part in this whole January 6th thing. I don't want to sleep on that whole aspect of it.
It's the very first thing that everybody said.
I mean, we saw how violent the Black Lives Matter protest got. And I'm not talking about the Black Lives Matter protesters. I'm talking about police against the Black Lives Matter protesters and how the comparison is just so night and day. Fucking scales tips.
Absolutely. And that was the first thing everybody said on January 6th. It was like, if this was a group of immigrant right folks or Black Lives Matter folks that had done this,
not dead. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Hundreds dead. Hundreds
would have been there. Like there's not a question about that. And there would have been hundreds dead. Hundreds.
Right.
So
right. And fuck Ashley Babbitt. I'm just gonna say that over and over again. I get so sick on watching trending on X and stuff. Like they try to martyr this woman. No, I'm sorry.
But I will take any of them that want to start talking about police and prison reform if this has changed their mind.
That's what I'm saying. There's always
Yes.
room. Church folk used to say there's always room at the cross.
They
There's
do say that.
always room because
All right.
reform happens, and that's why I want to get milkshakes. Milkshake. Don't you do that? Milkshakes JPay, so I can start writing him and seeing what God.
You're gonna get married to him. You're gonna become
Listen.
his like prison bride.
Yeah, I'll be his
You're gonna
prison
fall
bride.
in love.
Get him on the good side of justice.
Yes, and
Yes.
because we need an insider. We need somebody who knows this stuff to speak out against it. Cindy, have faith.
Well, now that they've seen it, like instead of what I'd like to see, you want to cry about prison and how terrible it is. You want to cry about the police. Come on over. We'll take you. Let's get this prison reform.
Yeah.
Let's make
Oh,
it
come on. They're as likely
action.
to come and join the prison reform movement as you are to get Byron Donalds and Larry Wilcoxon to get on the train to talk reasonably about systemic racism. They'll say it to you, they'll cry about it, but they ain't gonna do shit because they're benefiting from it.
Oh.
That's a true fact.
Well, let's see what God can do, Cindy. Let's just.
Oh, I love that. Okay, all right.
I
we'll
just
see.
have to say, I just came out of church, so I'm feeling
Look,
a
she
little
filled with the
godly
Holy
too.
Ghost. Yeah. So, Cindy, let's just see what God can do.
Bring that spirit on, my sister, because that is not me. I'm jaded as fuck.
Yeah,
I am
I don't-
mad.
Oh, and Cindy, the only thing you believe in these days is Detroit.
The only thing I believe in is that the Lions deserve a Super Bowl. Like that's where I'm
Exactly.
at. Me and Eminem, and like
You and Eminem.
I feel you. But
Well-
as we get ready to wrap this thing up, talk to me a little bit about, because I have to sometimes call Sarah and say, just tell me what this means. Donald Trump not being on the ballot in certain states. Just wrap that up for me, because they say he when it comes to Nevada, they're like, oh, he's not going to be on the ballot in Nevada, but it's not because of anything other than they forgot to file the paperwork. Is this true? Like, what can the Supreme Court will he eventually end up on these? You look cute.
I know, right? We
Who's
were
cute?
both caught
We
on
both
the
got
side. We
caught.
were both like, oh,
Yes, like wow.
bring in Bestie. This is Bestie.
Hey.
Hey, boo.
Hello.
hey.
She like walk by. We like, damn.
Make sure you know- oh, she's got to leave, but she goes by Bestie and Boo, or and Bae.
Yeah,
Bestie and Bae.
Bae.
That's her Bae, my Bestie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice. Okay. So back to why Donald Trump's not on the ballot. Okay.
We
It's
look
different by
great.
state.
Uh-huh.
It's different by state. So in Nevada, so there were several challenges based on the 14th Amendment, right? The 14th Amendment says if somebody has engaged in insurrection, then they cannot run for office, okay? So people were challenging that in the state of Nevada. It went to the Supreme Court of the state of Nevada. It was actually a whole trial where they said, did Donald Trump engage in insurrection? It was determined by the judges that he did, and so he was removed from the primary ballot. By the way, guys, from the primary ballot. Okay.
Mhm.
In Michigan, basically the same thing happened, but Michigan said stays on the ballot. Maine was a bit different. They give that power to the Secretary of State in Maine, and the Secretary of State said, based on essentially these hearings that they did, that Donald Trump engaged in insurrection and therefore is not qualified for the ballot based on the Constitution and the laws in the state of Maine. I think there's a few more jurisdictions that are considering this, but that's where we are. Donald Trump has challenged, and the Supreme Court has agreed, I believe, to take the case with Nevada, and he's in the process of appealing the one in Maine, and there'll be a few more, but they do have to do with the primary ballot, and there'll likely be more challenges related to the general election. But it does go down to the jurisdictions of the states and how they administer their elections.
Right. So who knows what's gonna.
America is lit. I'll tell you that much. Like, we lit. It's always something going on. Every day you wake up, it's like never a dull moment. You never gonna wake up as an American and be like, damn, ain't shit to do. Ain't shit to think about. Ain't shit to get involved in.
That's
That's
true.
so much.
Well, and especially if you're like us and you're social justice activists or, politically engaged, there's never a dull moment. There's never anything, which, I did an interview at Lee Pitts Live the other night, and Tisha of Tisha and Toya asked me, why am I in this? Like, why do I do this? And it's like, because how can you not? Like, we have to be in this together. It's hard for me to understand, and maybe that's different. It's hard for me to understand how you can wake up each day and see all this going on and not do something, you know? So it's like, we have to take care of ourselves. We have to stay energized for the fight and try to bring people along with us, you know? So I think that's why we do this. That's why we're here for the juice, is to let people know what's going on and hopefully draw them into the fold.
Because and whatever you feeling, you're not by yourself. You have people. We're here as your friends, as your comrades, as listeners, as opposition at times, you know, to challenge and to you know, sharpen each other's belief systems and what we stand for. So you have a family here with us.
And honestly, that's all it's about. And as much as I like to be the person that's blowing holes and stuff, but like, you know, especially through Big Mouth Media, we're talking about different sides of the issue. We have a Democrat and a Republican that we do every other Sunday as well. And it's, you know, it is a little bit about breaking down these things that's like we can never talk about stuff, or we hate each other. It's not like that. It's like we can still be passionate in our positions and we can still talk about stuff. And I want to get back to that, because like honestly, that was like some of my best times and fun in my life when I was in college and studying politics and stuff like that. It was like going, getting a pitcher of beer, and we're talking about things on different sides of the night, and we're just trying to maneuver each other like, oh, did you ever think about that? Or did you think about that? And that was good, because like that gave us the opportunity
to you hold your position in that moment, but you go home at night and think, damn.
And you think about it later and you're like, well, wait a second.
Then next thing you know, you wake up and you're a conservative 10 years later. Okay, maybe that's just
didn't work like that.
I think I'm at a place now where I'm like, I just want to build a healthy and thriving community. Like that's all I'm concerned with, right? So it's like, I'll work with whoever, as long as that's your goal too. And that's really your goal, because on both sides of the aisle, that's not always everyone's goal. You know what I mean? There's definitely ulterior motives that happen. And I'm not speaking locally. I'm just saying, I think we have to assess that first. And that needs to be at the forefront of mind when we're talking about these issues and we're talking about elected officials and voting, is who is really about making a better community. And
100%.
You know?
And actually, it's so funny that you say that, because actually the research on what reaches folks is that exactly. It's talking about community. It's talking about the issues that we share in common. And it is something that politicians miss, right? Because they're not focused on that. They don't have to live here. I mean, these folks are they're traveling, they're going to their house over here, their house over there. They're going to DC. They don't care if you got mucky water and potholes in your roads and the schools suck for your kids, because they're gone. Like, so they can have different things. But those of us that are here, we can talk about it. And because we live next to folks that think differently than us, we go to church with them, right? We shop at the grocery store with them. And we have no choice but to get along. And I think if we center that on the people in the community, you're 100% right.
Community first, guys.
Yeah.
I want to say, speaking of community, before we get off here, because I know we've been on for a while, but I do want to just say real quick, Chantel touched on it about MLK weekend. Fort Myers does it big. We have a whole MLK legacy weekend by the Dunbar Festival Committee. Bestie Bay is a part of that committee.
Yeah, that's why she had to run out, because I think they have to be there early to set up for the what service? Ecumenical service.
So if you are watching or happen to see this and are available at 3 p.m., come on over to Mount Olive Church, AME Church, for the ecumenical service at 3 o'clock. Also, the Greater Community Interdenominational Alliance at 6 p.m. tonight.
And that's at St. John First Missionary Baptist Church off of Brown Street.
And then tomorrow, there is going to be the march at 10:30, line up around 10. And then that will end at the park for a full day of festivities and remembrance and honor of Martin Luther King Jr. And also, if you do go and you want to march with the Lee County NAACP, I will be there with our banner. Come stand with us and march.
I would say that I did hear one piece of tidbit. If you are going to go to the march in Fort Myers, you can park downtown near Centennial Park, and there will be shuttles to the lineup location near the Dunbar Jupiter Library. So you don't have to basically park over there and walk back. So they're trying to make it so where they end in the park, your car will be there waiting for you.
Yep.
Okay. Thank
Right.
you for that. I don't even know where I'm parking. I'm like,
Well, now you do.
Yeah, tomorrow I'll be at work tomorrow, so this will be my first time missing the Dr. King Monday's downtown celebration in quite a few years. But yeah, I trust you all to
Carry the torch.
carry the torch well.
Chantal, we do have to thank her though, because the reason why she won't be there is because she is one of those essential workers that does not get holidays off. So she will be social working.
Yeah, I'll be social working. My job don't really care about the dream and all that stuff.
Although we need to have a sidebar conversation about
Yeah.
that later to find out who's off on that day
Yeah.
and who's not. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But no,
Okay, well, thank you. Let's wrap that on The Juice, the second season, our live show, our new live show. We are going to be doing this every other Sunday. I'm just confirming that with my co-host because I've roped them into it. And so we'll be doing it live.
Midday. It's perfect for all of us. Midday.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
And then we'll have our produced episodes that will be available wherever you listen to your podcast on Monday. And then it will also be available on the Big Mouth Media website, which you can find at bigmouthmediafl.com. And we, of course, would love to have you subscribe and help us support independent media here in the state of Florida and around the nation in this pivotal time for our democracy. You can get a subscription to The Juice for $4.99 a month or $49.99 a year. You can get everything from Big Mouth Media for $19.99 a month and support independent media, get all of our great videos and content emailed directly to you, and help us produce amazing shows like this. You can find all that information on the Big Mouth Media website, plans and pricing page at bigmouthmediafl.com. So thanks so much for joining us here. I have been your co-host, Dr. Cindy Banier, with
Chantel Rose. God bless you all.
Sarah Wilson, and behind us we got Nip. He better say goodbye too.
That's
And Louis.
Nipsey and Louis. Say bye, Louis.
Thank you.
Nipsey pipped up too. And thank you so much. And go ahead, go Lions, #all grit. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.